Hi, my name is Gilberto Orozco Jr., and today we will be going over the prison epistles, Ephesians, Colossians, Philippians, and Philemon. An introduction to the prison epistles. Paul was from Tarsus. He is the one that wrote the prison epistles. Uh, Tarsus is a major cosmopolitan trade center with a renowned university. Theology for Paul unfolds in three stages, as we see throughout the epistles: knowledge, new humanity, and task. The church is central in Paul's symbolic universe, a united holy community for believers. The prison epistles, as mentioned earlier, are Philemon, Colossians, Ephesians, and Philippians. The letters written by Paul explain Christianity's meaning and living it out, especially for Gentiles. Colossians was written during Paul's imprisonment due to accusations of sedition by Jewish leaders. The church in Colossae was attacked by false teachers denying Jesus' deity. Those false teachers combined Greek philosophy, Jewish traditions, and pagan worship, known as syncretism. Paul's letter addresses these false teachings as well as heresy. He emphasizes Jesus' victory over rulers and authorities, which is a key theme. Living in Christ means being secure and hidden in Him, not seeking worldly approval. He also reminds the Colossians that stewardship includes suffering, but Jesus living in us promises future glory. Philemon, written around 61 to 63 AD, while Paul was in prison in Rome. Early church sometimes used funds to free slaves. Many in the empire were slaves at that time. Slaves often called bondservants, sometimes sold into slavery due to debt. Paul appeals to Philemon to welcome Onesimus, a converted slave, as a brother in Christ. Roman law required Philemon to free Onesimus himself. Um, and so Paul is appealing to him to do this in his letter. One of the things that comes up in the letter is koinonia, which is a Greek concept in Paul's letter. And basically, it means fellowship, sharing in common. And that's what he is encouraging Philemon to do with Onesimus. Ephesians, Ephesus was a strategic city for spreading the gospel. The big idea in this letter is that unity is possible when connected to Jesus and each other through the local church. Ephesians emphasizes the gospel, creating a unified, multi-ethnic community. Uh, Paul praises in Ephesians 1. Paul's praise in Ephesians 1 to highlight past, present, and future aspect of God's redeeming love. Paul uses metaphors of blessings poured out and unity through Jesus' sacrifice. In his letters, Paul mentions spiritual battle and describes it as a metaphorical armor to stand against evil. This full armor of God equips believers to stand firm against spiritual attacks. And it's important to note that spiritual warfare's main battleground is the mind and thoughts. And so Paul prays for believers' spiritual growth and maturity so that they can fight this battle. His prayer for spiritual knowledge is essential for maturity and strength and faith. Paul also discusses how Christ gave the church gifts like apostles, evangelists, and teachers to maintain unity. Church leaders equip believers for ministry and build up the body. Paul's main concern was unity of Jewish and Gentile believers in Christ. Gentiles are reconciled to God through Christ's blood and faith, not law or effort, and he explains that in his letter. unity between Jews and Gentiles is like a holy temple with Christ as cornerstone. Believers are called to live as children of light, rooted in righteousness. And righteous living is a response to salvation, marked by kindness and truthfulness. Philippians. Philippi was a Roman-style capital city in Macedonia, 10 miles inland. The church began with Lydia's and the jailer's conversations. Paul wrote Philippians in response to a gift from the church with a joyful and content heart. In his letter, Paul rejoiced in the Philippians' fellowship and service despite his imprisonment. He encouraged believers to follow Jesus' example of humility and service. He mentions that prayer in faith is powerful, but God answers according to his will. Philippians believers faced persecution during that time due to their allegiance being shifted to Jesus. Paul's mindset in prison reminds us that purpose continues even in hardship. It's a great reminder for all of us. Uh, in his letter, Paul pointed toward mature, genuine Christian faith and life. Um, Spiritual maturity leads to contentment and peace, strengthened by prayer. It's important to remember that we can only find this contentment and peace in God, no matter our circumstances. And this letter is a perfect reminder of that because when he wrote it, he was in prison. Christians should do all things without grumbling or disputing. And he also reminds us that true unity comes from sharing the same spirit and belief in the gospel truth. And lastly, Christian love, agape, seeks the best for others, motivated by faith. This is a love that, you know, it's a gift to us uh, as we as we strengthen our faith in Jesus Christ. And so in summary, Paul's prison letters address both deep theology and practical Christian living. Um, Key themes that we see throughout his letters include Christ's lordship, church unity, spiritual maturity, and faithful stewardship. False teaching and syncretism threatened early churches, but Paul calls believers to remain rooted in Christ. In his letters, Paul emphasizes love, humility, and unity as marks of Christian life. Prayer, spiritual gifts, and the armor of God equip believers to face trials and grow in faith. Philippians encourages joy and contentment rooted in Christ, even in difficult circumstances. It's a beautiful reminder. Um, Paul's personal appeals, like in Philemon, remind us of transformation and restoration in Christ. Overall, the prison epistles guide us to live fully in the gospel, empowered by the Spirit and united in love.